Good morning. We are back. It's been a great week. Hope you had a great week as well as we head into the weekend. It is Garden America. I'm being cautious, Tiger. I'm waiting for the feedback from John's phone, but so far I hear nothing. It's a clean beginning, a clean start, a clean opening. Welcome once again to the show. Brian Main, John Bagnasco, Tiger Palafox. We are back. We are ready to go here with this so-called garden show that we do each and every Saturday morning. And for those listening to this pre-recorded show, hey, IE, Biz Talk Radio. Welcome, IE, Biz Talk, and welcome Lansing, Michigan, John. The call letters escape me, though, right now.
We'll come up with it. But, you know, if...
a new affiliate.
I think, Lansing's playing the show Sunday morning.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Happy Sunday.
If
I
you're
used
in
to
Lansing...
live in Lansing. Did you know that?
What's that?
I lived in Lansing
Yes.
for 2 years while I was finishing up my degree at Michigan State University.
Which automaker is Lansing? Isn't there one that's like from Lansing? A specific one? No?
I don't believe so.
I don't know.
I just thought it was so funny when we started the show and it was quiet because it's interesting when you get accustomed to something and then there's a change and
All of a sudden, we're talking all quiet before the show, and then the lights go on. It is showtime. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Garden America.
I think replacing me with AI was a good move.
Well, so far it's worked.
Yeah.
Nobody's been able to tell yet.
Yep.
Sometimes the voice is a little off, but we're tweaking that. We're working on that.
Our buddy John Clements is in Yosemite today.
Ooh.
Beautiful Yosemite. Boy, what's that like in the month of November? Going to be getting a little bit cold, right?
Getting chilly.
Probably, but I think it would be beautiful this time of year.
Absolutely gorgeous. I don't think they have snow yet. And so I think it's just cold, but beautiful.
Hey, John, is there snow? He's listening. He's tuned in. Maybe he'll let us know what's going on in Yosemite.
Maybe in the upper elevations. Huh?
You know, I was up in Temecula this week, and the one thing I was so shocked by was how dormant the grapevines were already. It doesn't, I'm being in San Diego, we don't see a lot of dormant things yet because we haven't gotten
Especially when it was 90 degrees last week.
We haven't gotten that cold. But that just tells me that up there in Temecula, even though it's probably, beautiful weather during the day, their nighttime temperatures are dropping real low, which is forcing all those grapes to go into their dormancy. And because it looked like all the foliage had been burnt to a crisp. So it's, they're one storm away from all of it being just sticks now.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Exactly.
Our Huntington Beach buddy, Carla, is back from Kona, Hawaii.
Ooh, all right. Welcome
said
back.
she had a great time, but I need tips now since I'm going next month.
Yeah.
Oh, no, January.
You're going in January.
End of January, right. What kind of fun stuff to do? Where to find the best melisadas?
You like to spearfish, right? In shark-infested waters?
I don't.
Oh, my goodness.
We were mentioning Yosemite, and I got an order for Manny's Annuals this week.
Nice.
And there was a plant I'm not familiar with, Tiger. It's a California native, and it's called Lepicinia fragrans, the fragrant pitcher plant. And
Pitcher plant, kind
It's
of
an
like.
pitcher
but
plant?
it's not a Sarracenia, not
Not the carnivore?
not the carnivore.
Okay.
But what about like the vine?
No,
Aristolochia.
Aristolochia, no.
No.
Nope.
So this is completely different from all the other pitcher plants.
It's a shrub, and I think it might be called a pitcher plant just because of the flowers are. Actually, they look like bells to me.
Okay.
Why it's pitcher plant, I don't know. But what I thought was interesting was they're not allowed to ship it out of the state of California.
Really?
Because it's protected. And
Oh.
why you could ship it in California but not out, I have no idea.
Yeah, because you would normally not be able to ship out because it could be invasive somewhere else.
Right.
But in California, it's native. But they just don't want it to leave, huh? Because it's protected?
Well, I don't know. Unless
that plant is held prisoner here.
Unless they're concerned that someone would be collecting it in the wild and then shipping it out. But, Annie's doesn't do that. They grow everything from cuttings or seed or something like that. But anyway, it's supposed to make like a 4-foot shrub. It said once it's established, it never needs water. And it blooms from spring all the way till fall.
Nice.
Yeah. So
where are you going to put it?
I'm going to put it on that hillside.
Are you?
Yeah.
Is it something that you can plant now? Like, it's a great time to plant some of this stuff now, especially on that hillside.
Yeah.
Or is it something you're going to have to wait?
No. I'm going to the stuff from Annie's comes in 4-inch pots.
Right.
So I got that in.
Once established, never needs water.
That's what it said. Also got an Arctodus called Large Marge. I just bought it because of the name.
Yeah.
Large Marge.
Large Marge.
I think we all went to school with a Large Marge at one time or another.
What do you like? My vision of Large Marge is the Pee Wee Herman's Big Adventure, and it's tell them Large Marge sent you.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. The biker bar scene's still the best.
Is that where he does the tequila?
Yeah,
dance?
She's got those big heeled shoes on.
Yeah. Okay.
On top of the bar.
Yeah.
Ends up making friends with him at the end.
Yep.
Hey, you're our buddy. Yeah.
Hey, Carla gives us kudos for a great newsletter.
Gives you.
This
Brian
is
and I had nothing to do with it. Yeah.
Production.
Said the quote is superb.
Superb.
Wow. Maybe we should do the quote.
Let's do that.
Maybe we should do the quote. We've got John's with us today. John
Domenici.
Domenici.
John Domenici. Not to be confused with Don Amici.
With Southland Sod Farms. And we're going to be talking about grass.
Wow,
today.
really?
Yeah.
Are we going to talk about aeration?
Could be.
Okay.
If you're lucky.
I'm actually looking forward to this because we're considering putting in some lawns. So
I
have to hear what he has to say.
That's why we have him on the show.
For you,
we're going to
John.
get tips for you, John.
And for you lawn lovers out there.
Well, the quote of the week, Brian, is from Henry Ward Beecher.
Oh.
And you know who he was, right?
I know the name. But what?
He was a preacher during the Civil War period.
Mid-1800s.
Mid-1800s. And his daughter wrote a famous book then.
To Kill a Mockingbird.
No, Uncle Tom's Cabin. His daughter was Harriet Beecher Stowe.
Yep.
Anyway, he said, pride slays thanksgiving, but a humble mind is the soil out of which thanks naturally grow. A proud man is seldom a grateful man, for he never thinks he gets as much as he deserves.
Thus, him being proud.
And unthankful.
And proud and unthankful. So we have
I thought that was good. It did mention growing in there,
Right.
and it mentioned Thanksgiving. So
hit all the
high points for this time of the year.
Yeah.
We've got a good group of people so far, and it's growing. The listeners and viewers on Facebook, those on Biz Talk Radio. We can't see you, but we assume you're there.
Yeah.
If you can hear us, then you're there.
Welcome.
the article was on the difference between a holiday cactus and a Thanksgiving cactus. And sometimes we repeat articles, but I completely rewrote this one.
Oh, it's new?
Yeah, it's
because
new.
I know we've talked about this issue before.
It's the same topic, but
rewritten.
Rewritten.
Version 2, huh?
2.0.
2.0. Well, what new things did you put into this one?
Oh, you'll have to read it.
All right.
Is that what you used
Are you selling those now?
Yes.
And
they're in full bloom.
Do you have a lot of colors, a lot of varieties?
Oh yeah. I feel like it's one of those plants that's getting more and more popular because they're doing more with the flower, they're doing more with the color, they're doing more with the variety.
Breeding, yeah.
Some are big, some are small, lots of fun stuff. And I kind of feel like people will love it too because it's one of those plants that is easy for people and has lots of color.
And that's one of the differences between Thanksgiving cactus and Christmas cactus is Thanksgiving cactus, you have more choices of colors. Sometimes they're called crab cactus.
I've heard that.
Crab claw cactus because of the
foliage.
jagged edges, where the Christmas cactus is rounded edges.
But not as many color variations?
No, not very many at all.
Well, that's one that, go back to marketing, right, is they do the Thanksgiving ones because that's the time of year. If you do it in the Christmas one, you're kind of late.
Well, it could be, but they call the Thanksgiving ones Christmas, don't they?
Right.
Normally.
Right.
Yeah, because it's a lot more popular
Yeah,
than Thanksgiving.
Oh.
So anyway, lots of choices. There's a book out on, I think it's called Zygo Cactus.
Just Zygo Cactus?
Yeah.
That's the name?
It's got all the different varieties in it, but they're not Zygos anymore, right? I think they've changed back to Schlumbergera.
Schlumbergera.
Yeah.
Schlumbergera or Schlumbergera?
Sounds like you've been drinking.
Schlumberger. More than one.
If I just mumble it, it sounds like I know what I'm talking about.
No, it's Schlumberger Bridges guy.
See, I knew there was an I.
Sure it is.
I knew there was an I in there somewhere.
The species.
So I think we'll take a break on that note here. First
all right.
segment coming to an end. We're back with our guest, John, talking about lawns today. So, hey.
And Carla asked me a question. The answer is yes, Carla. I'd appreciate it.
Okay, so there you go. So those on Biz Talk Radio, we're going to take a break. Thank you for tuning in and supporting our sponsors on Biz Talk Radio. Facebook Live, our guest coming up next. Welcome to the weekend. Welcome to Garden America. I'm Brian Main. John Bagnasco, Tiger Palafox. Boy, we say it so often. Back after these messages on Biz Talk Radio. We are back from the break. Thank you for tuning in on Biz Talk Radio, Facebook Live. Yes, we can see you as well. I'm Brian Main, Tiger Palafox, John Bagneska. As we get things underway, we're going to be talking about lawns this morning and other variations with our guest. John is ready to go, Tiger.
Yeah, so joining us this morning from Southland Sod Farms is John Domenici. Is that how you say your last name, John?
You said it perfect.
That was because the other John over there told me how to say it.
No, we practiced, John, before we got you up and on the air with us.
Yeah. But John's joining us this morning. He's a representative from Southland Sod Farms. Southland Sod is the company that manufactures a wide range of sods, but more known for their Marathon brand sod. There's a lot happening here in California right now with, lawns, with synthetic turf, with just what do we do to, conserve water, be useful with our, be wise with our water here in California. Southland's been around for a long time to see all the ups and downs that California has thrown its way. First off, let's kind of chat a little bit about Southland Sod and who you guys are, John.
Well, we're a sod farm. Like you say, we've been around a long time. I've been with the company for over 35 years now, and it's a family-run farm. It focuses on high quality and custom residential landscapes. We have a lot of varieties of grass. Unlike a lot of sod farms only grow a few, we grow 10 different varieties of grass. And we ship from Santa Maria all the way down to San Diego and everywhere in between. And what else can I tell you?
Where do you guys grow your sod at?
We're growing it in Ventura County, Port Hueneme, California. Mm-hmm. We don't grow it all in one spot. We have different acreage throughout the city. It's all farmland there, and that's where we do all the growing. And then we have a main yard where we pull all the, once we harvest it, we pull it all in one main yard, divide it up, and distribute it.
And this is kind of something interesting. From the time that you harvest, that sod, to the time it gets to either, the direct location, because I know you guys direct ship to projects, or to a store. What is that time frame?
Well, if we were shipping sod out tomorrow, say,
Mm-hmm.
but which we're not, we cut it the day before only.
Got it.
We do one thing that a lot of farms don't do. We go through an extra step. We actually run our sod through a refrigeration system that cools the sod, brings the temperature down to preserve it. And that is especially beneficial during the hot summer months. we'll bring the temperatures down to about 68 degrees, and that really cools the sod and makes it hold up and stay fresher for a longer period of time on the pallet.
Okay.
You know, all sod, once it's delivered, you know, in the perfect world, we like to see it installed right away. Yeah. Any sod that sits on the pallet, it's only going one direction on the pallet, and that's downhill.
Yeah.
So open it up, that's when it starts to, you know, come back to life and look like it should.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, you know, working with sod, I mean, you know, leaving it on that pallet for even a day, you know, you start having yellowing occur, and you know, some of the sod, you know, doesn't lay out as nicely as it can. So you definitely want to try to get that off and installed as quickly as possible. Now there's a lot happening here in California right now. You know, you and I had already spoken a bit about some of the things, John, but being in California, we need to be conscious of how we use our water, but at the same time, you know, we want to be conscious of our environment, and, you know, we also want to make our yards usable. And, you know, for a long time, they've been pushing for synthetic grass to be the sod alternative because it didn't use water. But now, just recently in the news, they're starting to turn away from synthetic grass. Can you give us a little bit of insight on why they might be kind of turning away from synthetic grasses?
Yeah, I think synthetic grass is really taken off over the last 10 years. And it's even, from what I've seen in the territory of Southern California, it has really picked up its popularity the last 2 to 3 years after this last drought we have had. So I think that there's a place for artificial turf. I'm trying to find that place. I know sports fields, they actually get overused in Southern California, and no grass can really hold up to the wear and tear of a sports field being used daily, 365 days a year. And that's where some sports fields are being used like that. But that's where artificial turf may have its place. But as far as for the average homeowner in their yard, if you have an area that is so shady, or if you have 3 or 4 dogs, you're going to have a hard time growing grass. You're not going to have a perfect-looking grass like we ship out. And once you get it, it will decline rather rapidly with negative conditions. And that's sometimes where maybe an artificial turf may be a applicable variety. But, you know, along with that goes a lot of the negatives of artificial turf that a lot of people, when they're buying it, they're not going to be told about the negatives from an artificial turf company. They're going to try selling it to them and only tell you the positives. So, you know, I do a lot of home shows, and a lot of people walk up to my booth, and they talk about artificial turf as being a choice. And once you ask the questions, and once you show them some of the features of artificial turf, they sort of have a better picture. And that's why I really appreciate you sort of bringing this whole topic to light.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's kind of a little bit of a choice from the standpoint of, like you're saying, like the right place has the right solution. And, you know, for most people, natural grass is a better solution. You know, having you on the program, John, is a little bit of a loaded thing because the John here in studio, Bagnasco, is considering putting grass in his house up in Fallbrook. And he's got a great flat area for it. It gets, you know, full sun in Fallbrook, because no matter where you go in Fallbrook in the summertime, it's hot. But it's right off of his back kind of patio and porch area. It's nice and flat, good exposure. And because of that, I think it would be way better to install regular grass, real live grass, than synthetic turf, because, you know, when he waters, the water's going to go right onto the lawn area. It's going to cool his backyard nicely.
You're saying the conditions are right.
Yeah, they're perfect for putting a lawn. And also, it's just going to give him a very good usable space that he can use 12 months out of the year.
And we don't have any professional athletes training there.
Yeah.
So it's, the natural grass is much better all around.
Yeah. And hey, John, we're going to have to take a break in about a minute here. But where I'm kind of going with this, though, is that John does have one problem on his area for lawn, and that's rabbits. So, between Marathon 1, 2, and 3, if he was to just narrow down the fescue, let's talk about what the different options are for those types of sod when we get back from the break.
Yes, do stay with us. We're talking lawns this morning, so a great time to chime in on Facebook Live with your questions, your comments. Welcoming those on Biz Talk Radio, this pre-recorded show from last week. So do stay with us again. We're going to take a break. It's Garden America for your weekend. Brian Main, John Bagnesco, Tiger Palafox. Get your lawn questions ready. Get ready to aerate here on Garden America. And this is what it sounds like when we return from a break. A break on Biz Talk Radio. We trust it was a good one. A break here on Facebook Live as we talk about lawns. We spoke about John's situation just prior to the break, Tiger. He's got the ideal conditions. No real reason to put in an artificial turf as far as we're concerned, maybe other than convenience.
Yeah, and over there at Southland Sod, they have a lot of varieties of sod that you can choose from for the right spot. And John Bagnesco here, I think, wants to install a fescue lawn because I think he likes the idea of having it green year-round.
Right.
Not having to maintain it like some of the other varieties that, are not fescue. But over there at Southland, you guys have 3 varieties of Marathon. Marathon 1, 2, and 3. And let me see if I can describe these 3 kind of correctly, because this is what I use when people ask me about the Marathon fescue seed or sod, is that, Marathon 1 is our standard tall fescue. Marathon 3 is a dwarf fescue.
Dwarf, right?
Is it double dwarf? Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, because then I didn't know if it went semi-dwarf and dwarf or dwarf, double dwarf, but it's a dwarf fescue. And the way that I advertise it for people is, Marathon 3, you don't ever really have to mow. Marathon 1, you have to mow weekly. Marathon 3 doesn't repair itself as quickly. Marathon 1 will repair itself a little quicker. What is some other insight, John?
Well, if I was going to put it in a nutshell, and the whole double dwarf and all that, I sort of ignore all that. What I would say is that when we were breeding new varieties of grass, and Marathon 1 is the oldest, Marathon 2 came around after Marathon 1, and Marathon 3 came around after 2. Whenever we're breeding, we were trying to breed towards a slower growing, darker color green genetically, and a finer texture.
Wow.
And Marathon 3 is the finest, slowest, and darkest of the 3 varieties. Now, everybody thinks slow is a real positive thing, but if you have, like you have, John, rabbits taking eating on it all the time, or if you have a foot traffic or dogs, kids playing on it, Marathon 3, its slow growth, turns into a negative factor.
Yeah.
So in your situation with rabbits, I would probably take you towards Marathon 1. But that being said, the question I always have, and I go out to hundreds of yards a year with people that have problems, and I've run across the rabbit problem over and over and over. And there are many products that are out there, but the 2 things that I have always seen that have been the best is, number one, there's a sprinkler head called a scarecrow. Mm-hmm. And what that does is it comes on with movement. And you hook it up, and when there's rabbits on the lawn and there's movement on the lawn, a rainbird head comes on and shoots a spray of water over the lawn, and that tends to discourage the rabbits and they move away. The other solution, which I think is a more permanent, long-term, and if I was doing it myself for my yard, is basically you have to wire in your backyard. In other words, chicken wire or a wire that is fine enough texture to where rabbits cannot get through it. Mm-hmm. And it may sound like not the best solution. It is by far the most successful solution.
Yeah, sure. Any way that you can protect that.
Do we want to get to some questions, John, before we get too many, backlogged here?
Yeah, we could, but maybe briefly while I'm trying to to set up these questions. Didn't Southland actually start the revolution to the tall fescues with Marathon?
Yes, we were the first ones to come out with it at the time. And you're looking over at probably close to 40 years now. And what has happened, when sod used to be sold, it was just sold by the variety, like you're saying, fescues,
right,
or Bermuda, or bluegrass. They never put a name on it. And when Southland came out with their tall fescue, they wanted it to be able to be distinctive, and it just so happened to come out during the Olympics 40 years ago. And one of the owners came up with the name Marathon, and it stuck. Yeah. And, the name is important, but I've always told people the name means absolutely nothing if you do not put the hard work into growing a quality product, producing a quality product year in and year out, delivering it on time, and just being a quality company besides that, and then having a name recognized product is it's a formula for success.
Yeah.
Okay.
It sounds like that maybe using the term United States Congress. Anyway, this is not a political show. Hey, Tanya in San Jose, John, wants to know if you could give us a few points on how lawns actually benefit the climate or the environment.
So you want to know the temperature-wise, how it benefits?
Anything. Is it...
why is it good for the climate? What are some of the positives, I guess?
Well, the positives of turf are greenhouse gas reduction. It purifies the air, water purification. When water goes through a lawn, it actually gets filtered and cleaned up. It cools the temperatures in the area compared to artificial turf by over 35 degrees. There is a fire protection, that where it is a fire buffer. Mm-hmm. It's actually, people don't consider it a lot of times, but it is a habitat for animal life, worms, insects in lawns where birds feed on them and other animals feed on them. It's the most important part is it's a recreational surface, and it's a very favorable recreational surface as far as kids are wanting to play on grass as opposed to not wanting to go on an artificial turf lawn because the temperature is 120 degrees during the middle of the summer. Yeah. The cost factor is lower than artificial turf, so it's a positive there. But as far as for the environment, there's all these things that grass does do for the environment. The one thing it doesn't do is that it does not use water. And that is the one reason people put in artificial turf. There's actually no other beneficial benefit to artificial turf except for, a clean surface, except for that it does not use as much water. And that being said, now they're recommending that people come out and wash down their artificial turf to cool it. A lot of the schools that put it in, they have sprinkler systems installed to cool it down. So, there's all these things that can be done with live turf. But, those are the benefits of turf. And, bottom line, when you grow turf and sell turf for a living, you take those for granted, that all the positive things. And a lot of homeowners don't even understand, the things that I mentioned, greenhouse gas reduction. I mean, who knows what that means? And
right.
Water purification, a lot of them don't understand that. But those are the positives of turf.
Hey, John, also, something that, really hit with me when we were talking before the show, because you talked about the water aspect of it. And, I think you put this most clear for people is that turf doesn't waste water. People waste water. And it's managing your irrigation systems. It's making sure you install the right one for the right spot. It's adjusting it with the season. It's turning it off when there's rainfall. It's turning it back on when it's getting hot. People can manage irrigation to your lawn where you're not wasting water. Turf uses the water, you say, doesn't waste it. And I think that's a really good point that, if you're a responsible real lawn owner, you're going to have an area that does all those wonderful things, cools, purifies, cleans, makes for a good area to play on, but you're not going to be wasting water if you're using that area, right?
I agree 100%. It's a simple punchline, but lawns don't waste water. They use water. Yeah. And they use a lot of water mostly during the months of June, July, August, September. The other, 8 months of the year, that's when you could really pull back and manage your watering. And that's what a lot of homeowners, once that clock is set, and I'm convinced that not too many homeowners know how to work their clocks. So once that clock is set, they just never change it.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
There's times of the year where, yes, it does need more water. And there's other times of the year where, the last 2 weeks now, I think most irrigation systems could have been turned off. We've had a rain this morning. We had rain on 2 days ago.
Hey, John, real quick, we are going to have to take another break. When we get back, I'll let you finish that thought. We'll take a quick break and return with John with Southland Sod.
Yeah, make sure you set your timers for your artificial lawns to cool off the artificial lawn while you're at it. We are talking lawns, and a good response this morning here on Garden America, Facebook Live, Biz Talk Radio. Speaking of Biz Talk Radio, back after these messages. Stay with us. All right, we are back from the break. This is the final segment for those on Biz Talk Radio, final segment of hour number 1. News coming up top of the hour. We come back hour 2 on Biz Talk Radio 6 minutes after. We continue our conversation, questions, comments. The topic today, lawns.
Yeah, so we're chatting with John with Southland Sod Farms today. And before the break, John, you were just mentioning about how people can be more water-wise by learning to use their irrigation systems better, checking their irrigation systems frequently, so that way there's, it always happens. There's a broken sprinkler head. There's a head that gets clogged, popped off, whatever it is. And if you're out there and you're checking the system, you're not wasting any water. You're making sure it goes where it should. And if you're adjusting it properly, again, you don't want to be overwatering your lawn. You just want to keep it alive. And most established lawns do a really good job of just staying through the winter, the spring, and the fall months, and they really only need more water in the summer months. We have a few questions right now. John Benasco is going to ask that we have from some listeners on our Facebook feature.
Yeah, Mary wants to know, and I think we already covered this basically, but she wanted to know some of the cons for artificial turf, and you mentioned those, John, but Carla brought up a point, is there's a shelf life on artificial turf, and what do you do with it after it ends up in the landfills? Isn't that about all you can do with it?
Yeah.
Well, that's one more negative that you're not going to hear.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I've always said if I wasn't selling livestock, it would be real easy to sell artificial turf. People they take it for your word that, you put in a lawn, you're going to save all sorts of water. It's going to be a perfectly clean surface, and they're not going to tell you the temperatures of the soil or the ground. They're not going to tell you how much water you're saving. And if I could just touch on watering a little bit, I've broken it down to 1,000 square feet of lawn, and 1,000 square feet of lawn will use about 40 units or 50 units of water per year. And what that equates out to, a unit of water is 547 gallons. So in a year, if you're paying, and a unit of water, 547 gallons of water will cost you at its peak maybe $5 for a unit. So per year, you're using about, say if you used 50 units, that's only $250 in water itself per year. So water is cheap. Water is inexpensive, and that's why people tend to overuse it. If they look at when they're selling the artificial turf, to say you're going to save all this money on not watering your lawn. Well, if you look at your water bill closely, and nobody does, there is a water bill before you even turn on a gallon of water or use a gallon of water. You are getting charged a lot of fees to use that water before you even use any water. So the lawn itself is the target, where it gets targeted as you're wasting all this water and money on the lawn, whereas really if you get rid of the lawn, you're not saving enough to where you could probably, in 1,000 square feet, you could install live turf 5 to 6 times before you would come up anywhere near the cost that it would be for an artificial turf company.
Yeah.
You know, especially if your schools have to put in irrigation systems now to water the artificial turf.
To cool it off.
Yeah. And Tiger, didn't you have a friend that made the mistake of putting in a dry clean only artificial turf?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that was a hassle pulling that up and taking it to the dry cleaner.
All right, John, where are we now with the questions here?
Okay, Lenore in Canyon Country, which is a pretty hot area, wants to know if there is a sod that she could use if she has a little bit of shade.
When you say a little bit of shade, the minimal shade, if you're putting in marathon, is you want 4 to 5 hours of sunlight per day.
Oh, okay. That's not bad.
If it's less than that, you could go down to maybe 3.5 hours with St. Augustine, which is a variety of grass that goes dormant during the winter. But a lot of people don't like the cosmetics of St. Augustine as much as they like the cosmetics of a marathon lawn.
Perry, I'm not sure about this. This is a question I really don't know, and you may not either, John, but she wants to know if you have heard of micro clover, and if so, do you have an opinion on it?
Well, I saw a clover lawn go in around the corner from my house. As far as micro clover, I'm not sure what that is exactly, but I'm sure it's in the same bracket as all clover. It looked good coming up. It looked good for the first month. But during the growing season, and this is in rather cool temperatures in Huntington Beach, it needed to be mowed once every 3 weeks. It just got too tall, and then in between mowings, it would look bad. It's not really a plain surface, but it is a variety of plant material that could be grown in replaceable lawn. But people don't realize how low maintenance a lawn truly is. Basically, all a lawn comes down to is mowing, watering, and fertilizing once a year, twice a year, and you have a decent-looking surface to play on. Whereas dealing with anything besides clover, let's face it, if clover was a great substitute for sod, we would grow it.
That's good point.
And definitely is not, because I've stepped on plenty of bees
right
in clover patches in parks. So
but people don't realize we're farmers. We're not into only growing grass. We have 10 varieties of grass, but they're probably the most practical varieties of grass for homeowner use. Clover was a hot item, and people were asking for it like crazy. We would have clover in the ground and shipping it out in 6 months. It's that fast of a crop.
Rick in Star, Idaho has several questions. One is he wants to know if there's a difference in the type of mower to use, whether rotary or reel. And then also wants to know, should you leave the clippings down or pick them up?
So different mowers for different varieties of grass. The marathon varieties, which are cool season grasses, you use a rotary mower on it. And as far as removing the clippings or leaving them in the lawn, I would probably say I would remove the clippings July and August when it's growing very, very fast. And the other months of the year, you could mulch mow. Like if the mower is capable of being a mulching mower, you could leave the clippings on the lawn. As far as
Hey, John, sorry to interrupt again. Before you get into the reel mower, we have to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll continue chatting with John with Southland Sod Farm.
It is the top of the hour break and news time for those of you on Biz Talk Radio, so do stay with us. You've got about 5 or 6 minutes until we return. The rest of us on Facebook Live, a much quicker break, so do stay with us. Again, hour 2 coming up on Biz Talk Radio with our national affiliates. In the meantime, this is Garden America, Brian Main, John Bagnasker, Tiger Palafox. Back after the news, these messages, and even quicker on Facebook Live. Stay with us. All right, Garden America is back. We welcome those tuned in on Biz Talk Radio for hour number 2. It should be right around 6 minutes after the hour. We continue our conversation here on this weekend or whenever you're listening. We're talking about lawns. I'm Brian Main, John Bagnasker, Tiger Palafox. And, of course, a lot of questions as we want to continue, Tiger, to get back into the flow here and catch up on some of those questions with John.
Yeah, so before the break, you were kind of getting in between telling people the difference between the different mowers for the different types of sod, different types of grass, and you were getting into the reel mower. Why would you use a reel mower versus a rotary mower?
A reel mower is used on varieties of grasses that tend to build up a thatch. And a thatch is like a patty surface where the grasses grow laterally, and they tend to grow on top of each other, building up a pad. And the front throw reel mowers will keep that in sync a lot better because they're heavier and they give it a cleaner cut for warm season lawns like Bermudas, kikuyu grass, St. Augustine, varieties of zoysia, things like that. Whereas the rotary mower is used on all the cool season grasses. One thing I will say is that regardless of which mower you choose, the consistency of mowing is important. There's a reason why gardeners come once a week, and it's just to give a little bit of clipping off the lawn rather than letting it grow tall and scalping it and beating it up. That it could only set yourself up for the lawn to go downhill.
Yeah.
So, consistency is so important with growing grass. Consistent mowing, consistent watering, consistent fertilization.
If you had one of those thatching style lawns, how often would you recommend a dethatch in that lawn?
Well, I personally have St. Augustine at my house. I have trees, a lot of shade. I've had it there for 30 years, but I am very, very consistent with my mowing, and I have never had to dethatch my lawn.
Okay.
So, but I am consistent.
Uh-huh.
So, that is the important thing that I want to stress with people. A lot of times you go on vacation, all it takes is going on vacation during the summer. When St. Augustine's growing fast, it grows up 4 inches, and in 2 weeks when you're gone, you come back and you have a thatch lawn then.
Okay.
So it's just the proper maintenance and care can prevent you from having to dethatch. Otherwise, I would say once every 3 years.
Okay. And then how about aeration?
In aeration, I only recommend when you have a drainage problem. Mm-hmm. I don't just recommend coming in and aerating automatically no matter what, because a lot of times when you aerate, you tend to beat up the lawn a little bit.
Yeah.
And that sort of opens it up for weed penetration and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So only if you're having an issue where you're getting some puddling happening and it's just not absorbing into the soil very quickly is when you would want to just kind of aerate that area. And using organic fertilizers and humic and stuff, that'll help naturally, improve soil and root absorption and all that kind of stuff too, that you don't have to do that work and just let the soil kind of manage itself, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm happy you touched on the organic. A lot of people, they always talk about the negatives of the lawn, chemicals being used on it. You can have a lawn and the mower, the mower gases that it puts out. You could have now they have battery-operated mowers. They have organic fertilizers. You could have a very natural organic lawn very easily, not having to use chemicals on a lawn now.
Yeah, definitely. Was there one more question? I feel
you got a couple, I think.
Oh,
yeah, we've got a few questions, and this one is going to test John. We'll find out how much he really does know about the world.
The world. This. Okay, I know this one.
Well, the reason is we have a listener in Pakistan, Hastam, who listens to the show on a regular basis, and he wonders if you have some tips on how to keep the grass green through the winter. Is there a special fertilizer he should use? They do have frost, and it starts to get cold in the winter. So he wonders if there's a way to prepare the lawn going into the winter.
Now, before you get into this, John, because I read this question too, and I kind of think they might have like a Bermuda grass. So I think their lawns go dormant in the wintertime and he's trying to figure out a way to keep it green.
You got that out of the question?
I think so. Because, I mean...
Well, Hastam will have to tell us.
Yeah, because, I mean, a fescue lawn isn't going to turn in a color in the wintertime.
And if
that's
it does,
a good point.
If it does die back, that's just the kind of grass it is.
And the reason
change that.
And I'm not trying to cut off John, our guest here, but I think people get confused because they think all lawns stay green in the wintertime because they see places and they don't realize that those lawns are overseeded. And can you explain that process, John, for us? Because I don't think people know that on golf courses, those lawns turn brown in the winter, but they do what's called overseeding, right?
Yeah, I could answer it two ways. The good way to answer, as far as he wants to know how to keep it green, you can do exactly what we do at the farm when we ship out Bermuda during the winter when it goes dormant. You can always paint it and dye
it. True. Yep.
But, when a landscaper has to put in a dormant lawn during the winter, they can't put down a brown lawn, so we paint it and dye it. So that's one way. As far as the other way, I don't know how cold it gets in Pakistan, but in my areas, I fertilize my lawn in October to carry it into the winter as far as possible, and I fertilize it again in February to bring it out of dormancy as early as possible. And a lawn that is not watered or irrigated will go dormant a lot faster than a lawn that does get some irrigation during the winter. In other words, the drier the soil, the colder the temperature. So those are just helpful hints for him. But, the only 100% sure way to guarantee Bermuda not going dormant is to paint it. As far as overseeding it, if they're doing it just to keep it green, yes, overseeding is the process where they mow down the lawn short, apply a seed lawn over it, and then cover it with topper. They're basically creating a temporary lawn during the winter months. And that's commonly done like in Palm Springs, where it gets cold during the winter, to have a beautiful surface year-round. When the Bermuda comes back in March or April, that's when the annual rye overseeding will burn off and die off. So that's how you keep a green year-round lawn then.
And some of our listeners might think you were kidding about the painting, but it's not enamel house paint that you're using on the lawn. But there are dyes, dyes that can be used that are safe for plants, and that's what you're referring to.
Lawn dyes, you're right.
Right.
Correct.
The next question is from one of your neighbors, Carla, who's in Huntington Beach.
Okay.
And she wants to know the best place in Huntington Beach area to buy Southland Sod. And she also had a question on your St. Augustine, if it's non-spreading. And I think all St. Augustine spreads, so maybe she wants to know if yours is a dwarf type St. Augustine.
No, we grow the standard variety of St. Augustine because we found that people that want St. Augustine, usually they're growing it because they have negatives in place. And the dwarf, because it grows so slow, turned into being negative for it. So we only grow the standard variety. You should have a border if you're growing St. Augustine to where it won't grow laterally into the flower beds. That's the best way to handle it. And her first question was where to buy it in Huntington Beach. Armstrong Garden Centers have it. Site One is at another irrigation supply house in Huntington Beach that has it. Or you can go on sod.com and they'll be able to direct you towards the closest location to your zip code or address. You can go on our website at sod.com, and they'll be able to help you out.
Hey, we're going to take another break right now. When we get back, we'll finish chatting with John with Southland Sod. Go to sod.com, find out more information about Southland and the different varieties and where to get it. And, they can have it shipped directly to your doorstep.
All right, we are going to take a break for Biz Talk Radio. Coming back here with more as we discuss lawns today with John, and a lot of good information. A lot of people tuned in, and I guess a lot of people happy with the explanation and the answers we're giving. So we're doing our job here on Garden America. Back after these messages on Biz Talk Radio. Okay, we are back from the break. Biz Talk Radio Facebook Live. I'm Brian Main, John Begnasco, Tiger Palafox. Thank you for tuning in this morning, broadcasting live, of course, as we do every week from the iHeartMedia studios here in San Diego, California. We are discussing lawns, artificial turf, different types of lawns. Why is yours brown in the wintertime? Why is it green all year round? And dispelling some of those myths, Tiger.
Yeah, we're finishing our conversation here with John with Southland Sod Farms. And we don't have a lot of time, but I did want to make sure to touch on this. And John, is that telling people that this time of year for Southern California is an excellent time to install a new lawn, right?
Yes, it is. The only, installing it, yes. Now, the one glitch that falls in that is the killing off and removal of the old lawn this time of year. And that could be sometimes a little more difficult depending on where you live and what type of grass you're trying to get rid of and kill. So that's the only glitch that comes with planting this time of year. We ship out a lot of sod during the summer hot months. Those are actually the harder months to establish a lawn. This time of year, very few people have trouble establishing a new lawn. If it's a cool season lawn, like the Marathon, I wouldn't really recommend establishing a St. Augustine or Bermuda lawn this time of year. It can be done, but it's a lot more successful to install them during their growing season, which is March through October.
Yeah. So, definitely if you're looking to get a fescue lawn, you're going to get all the benefits of cool weather, a little bit of rain, root growth, but at the same time, the blade growth is going to be minimal because of the cool weather. And then that way, by the summer months, it's established, and you're not having to worry so much about, watering it every day. I mean, what is it that you guys put on the paperwork when you send out with sod to water it 3 times a day for the first couple weeks? Is that what it is usually?
Yes.
Yeah.
Usually we have 3 times a day for the first week, 2 times a day for the second week, all water going on in the early morning and no later than 4 o'clock. As far as the amount of minutes, that will be determined by your sprinkler system. We don't put minutes on our brochures because there are so many different types of irrigation heads and sprinkler systems out there. You just want to make sure when you're establishing a lawn that the top 2 to 3 inches is moist all the time.
Yeah.
It's not a matter of deep watering. It's a matter of keeping that surface that we shipped out moist so it establishes into your lawn.
Yeah, and that's why the frequency is more important than the volume because, if it dries out on top, it's not going to grow into the existing soil.
Do we have time for one last question?
Yeah, let's do it. Sure.
Okay. By the way, Histam said that he really appreciates your answer, and so you are now eligible for the International Horticulture Award there.
Yeah, way to go.
Hey, this question is from Dell, and he wants to know if he has a sod lawn that's been damaged in areas, can he go and repatch that with new sod, and how would you do that?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's no different than if you were planting a new lawn. You would scrape the surface, and you would open up the area to bare dirt. You can't just lay the sod on top of the old. You would want to mix a little bit of compost into the ground before you lay the new sod. And you basically just cookie cut out the dead areas and put in the new areas. It's not hard at all. That's one way people do it. If they want to leave everything in place, they just overseed it like they would a winter lawn. So where they leave everything in place, sprinkle seed on top, cover it with seed covering or topper, and keep it moist. Yet they have to remember it's easier to keep it moist during the wet months from now until about April. If that seed dries out one time, that's all it takes, then it loses its germination rate. So you can either overseed it or you could cut out the dead and patch in the new.
Also, I'll throw one note in there for people overseeding, and this seems like such a no-brainer for a lot of us, but you cannot mow that lawn, also that seeded lawn area, because what people will do is they got this beautiful seed coming up. They go over it with the mower, and the mower just rips all that right out of the ground, right? Because it hasn't held root into there very long. So you whenever you seed a lawn, you want to prevent mowing it for a few weeks to let those roots really get into the soil, right, John?
Correct. But at the same time, one of the biggest mistakes a lot of people make is that they let it grow too tall.
Yeah.
The young, tender grass, and then they basically beat the heck out of it when they go to mow it by letting it get too tall. So there's a fine line. You know, there's a reason why they're sod farms, because they know what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're trying to get people to understand and know what they're doing, too, out there. So I think getting a mower on it early on, once the roots are out of the seeding, it's not going to suck up in the mower when it's rooted.
Yeah.
So don't let it get like 4 inches. Maintain it about 2.5 inches. Once it gets 2.5 inches, push a mower over the lawn. Some areas will grow faster than others, but if you push a mower over an area that's not 2.5 inches tall, the only negative is that you don't cut it.
Yeah.
So you don't want to wait too long, but you don't want to do it too soon, like you say, to suck up that seed.
Yeah. But they also have great information at sod.com. Lots of tutorials, lots of how-tos, lots of information on different varieties of sod and where to find it. And, the one thing, too, I will say, and they're probably not going to like me saying this, but you guys also have a phone line, and they can answer so many questions for people at Southland Sod as well, which is a huge wealth of information over there. So, John, thank you very much for joining us. Hope you have a great rest of the weekend. Have a great holiday. And, hopefully we'll have you on again soon, maybe in the springtime when we're actually considering those warm season lawns, okay?
Sounds great. I love doing it. I had a good time.
Great. Right. Thank you, John.
Take care.
Based on some of the comments, too, people said they learned a lot this morning. This was a very informative program and a show that, every now and then, we certainly break through with some knowledge that people think, I know this, I know a little bit about it, but then we have somebody like John on, and it just opens up a wave of education for these people that are either thinking about, artificial turf or lawns in general.
I noticed that an old friend of ours, Tom Piergrossi.
Oh, yeah.
He chimed in.
Chimed in about his disapproval of lawns, but also how artificial turf's even worse.
Yeah.
And we do agree with that. And he solved, I think, his Southern California problem of lawns by moving to Hawaii.
Yeah.
And Tom, we're just wondering if you're still in Hawaii and if you're still operating your business. Let us know, because it's been a while since we've had him on the program.
Exactly.
To see.
Saw that name pop up.
Yeah.
On our Facebook page.
He always grew some of the most interesting, unique plants.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So, yeah.
He's one of my favorite people to talk to about plants because he knows so much.
We're going to take a break. We have 2 more segments coming up. So, yes, the topic this morning, of course, has been lawns, but whatever's on your mind, want to take it in a different direction. That's what we're here for. So we will take a break for Biz Talk Radio and our national affiliates across the entire country, and, hey, for that matter, around the world if you are tuned in on Facebook. This is Garden America, back after these messages from these affiliates and the Back after the break. That's where we are right now. We are on the other side. So, again, Garden America, if you're just tuning in, we do appreciate it. A lot of people tuned in this morning. You know, lawns have always been a hot topic, especially here in California, hopefully dispelling some of those myths about artificial turf in general.
You know, I went to a nursery and bought some plants this week.
Oh.
Why would you do that, a man like
Yeah.
why? I don't get that.
Why would
What
you
are
buy
you? Are you into gardening? I'm flummoxed, Tiger.
I'm doing, as you come into my home on the right-hand side, it's kind of a dry area, and I've got some drought-tolerant plants, some succulents and cactus and things like that. And I was looking for some restios, and it's hard to find. I don't know if you guys have any restios.
No.
So I went to Anderson's La Costa Nursery.
Uh-huh.
And I bought that, and then a couple other plants that they had a good selection of native suns, 4-inch pots there. So I bought a few of those, and I was checking out, and the guy says, "Is this your first time here, or do you shop here a lot?" And I said, you know, the last time I was here, I was talking to Horace about cycads. He goes, "Oh, wow." Horace Anderson was the person who started it, and he was a long-time, well-respected horticulturist, especially with palms and cycads.
Yeah, yeah. That's funny because, and then, you know, with nurseries now, I mean, even me, like, look at our nursery. You know, you had my dad, and then you have me, and,
right.
You know, Walter Anderson's, you had Walter, and then you have Walter Jr., you know, it's just, you're like, you have to define the time that you knew.
What era are we talking about?
Yeah.
And that was just it. I mean, for years and years and years at Mission Hills Nursery, people would talk about Frank Antonicelli, who ran the nursery prior to us. And it's like, oh, we used to come here when Frank used to run this nursery. And
Right.
That's funny.
I remember, you know, I worked with your dad at Nurseryland, and I remember him leaving Nurseryland because they would not buy Mission Hills Nursery.
Yeah.
And your dad kind of has his own mind.
Yep.
So his thought was, well, fine, I'll go buy it myself.
Yeah, exactly. Prove you guys wrong.
And that was what year, Tiger, roughly?
So
70s, 80s?
No. 80, 87, 88.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
late 80s.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. You were still a little guy.
Yeah, I was. I know the time frame that we purchased the nursery because I was in elementary school, kind of kindergarten.
Still kind of trying to
grade.
find your way through life.
Yeah, definitely trying to find my way through life at that point in time. Yes, I was just trying to find
the bathroom.
Find the bathroom. Exactly. I was. Yeah. Exactly at that point in time.
Sue, Brian, appreciates your Padres jersey.
Yeah, I saw that. You know, wasn't really thinking about anything except I needed a long sleeve shirt this morning.
Really?
So grabbed the old Padre shirt.
You're not. I think it was subliminal because of all the
Probably.
Peter Seiglers.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah,
The
she said
Padre owner passed away.
she assumed that it was a tribute to him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Why not? Why not?
No, not everybody knows that when Brian gets dressed in the morning, he goes into a dark closet
Right.
and just grabs something, and then he's himself surprised
Yes.
by what he's
it's,
wearing.
Look at this theme this morning. Had
But
no idea.
that's an improvement because he does it himself.
Yeah.
Dana doesn't have to dress him anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, we'll play dress up sometimes.
You know, we were hoping Brian and Dana were going to be able to come over for Thanksgiving. And Brian mentioned that he would really like to, except he's not going to get dressed on Thanksgiving.
Basically, that's what I said.
Yeah.
I'm
And so
probably
I
not
said-
even going to get dressed.
Yeah.
And you said that wasn't a problem.
No, I actually said I wish he'd stay home then, for sure.
I thought you were okay with it.
Well, you know,
you didn't want me to stick to your seat cushions.
Well, you know, we still want you and Dana to come over, so you let me know what holidays you do get dressed
Well, does
on.
it have to be a holiday to come over?
Well,
That's another thing.
I mean,
Or
is
for
it
the free
only
food,
is it
maybe,
only
right?
holiday?
I was going to say it depends on the amount of entertainment you want.
Right. I get you.
If you're bringing food, you can come any
We
day.
would bring whatever was required. We should do it when
Except
we
for
can all
clothes.
go. We should do
Except
it
for clothes.
when we can all do it.
Yeah.
The three of us.
Yeah, we'll
we had
have
to
to
get
have-
together at John's place several years
Yeah, we got to
ago.
have our company Christmas party.
There you go.
Oh, that's right.
The Garden America Christmas party.
Yeah.
Now, I see we have a comment or two, John, or what do we have going on Facebook?
Well, Tanya said that some people have put out signs saying brown is the new green, and they just put in new sod, and they want to put a sign out with all the benefits that lawn does for our environment.
See, people only hear one thing.
Yeah.
Saving water. Okay. They don't know the myriad of things that go behind that. That
Right.
You know, it's like anything else when you have an opinion. The first thing you should ask somebody, well, how did you come to that conclusion? Yeah. What is the basis for the way you feel?
Right.
And for a lot of people, there's not much there.
And, you know, Tanya does live in San Jose, so that kind of comes with the territory, Tanya.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, and I think the number that always shocks me or gets me every time when people talk about saving water is the amount of water that is actually
being saved.
Well, no, actually going to irrigating landscapes. You know, for the state. You know, when we talk about that, like,
well, residential use, all residential use is only like 12%.
and that's showers, sinks,
Right.
toilets,
Washing dishes.
Car
12%.
washes.
So 12%.
Yeah.
Look at the
So-
car wash.
So, you know, I mean, and that's all residential. So you got to think there's apartment buildings, condos, complexes that have no landscape whatsoever. And that's part of their 12%. So when you think about the actual landscape water,
I think you're down around 6%.
right?
Yeah,
So-
maybe 3 to 6%. So if
Let's
we
say-
had no plants in the entire in any
California,
of our residential
we didn't water
areas,
any of our landscape.
you could save 3 to 6% water.
Exactly. And so then now you take that down even another notch and put it just towards lawns.
Right.
Okay. And you're down to 2%.
Right.
So you eliminated all the lawns in California and you're going to save 2% of the water for the state.
Right.
You know.
And that doesn't bother me if you don't want a lawn and you feel
Change.
obligated
Do whatever.
to not have one for some particular
Sure.
reason. You know, go ahead and live your life, enjoy your garden, but, you know, don't carry your environmental religion to other people.
Yeah, just do what you want to do.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But yeah, so that's the thing that kind of, you know, shocks me is when people think about saving water. And then, you know,
They don't have enough background information. They don't
John
even-
mentioned about money, saving money, because everybody's like, oh, my water bill's going up. Oh, I'm paying so much in water.
Right.
And that's the thing, too. You really need to look at your bill and you need to say, okay, here's
Look
all
at
the
the
fees.
look at the breakdown of your bill.
You know,
Yes.
my wife does that because she's always complaining about the water bill, but she goes, oh, my gosh, if we weren't even home,
We would still be hundreds
paying
of dollars.
So what
a
did
couple
John say?
$100.
Before you even turn your hose on to your sink, you're
Yeah.
getting a bill.
all kinds of fees.
And I call it the invoice or the bill for what you may use. Here's a bill for what you're probably going to use.
Yeah.
Just like the gas and electric company. Well, we averaged it out this month based on the last 2 months.
Yeah. No, so I mean, it was smart to break down the water. And he brought up a great point in the sense of because water is so cheap, that's why people waste it. You know, so, you know, it's very easy for you to be like, oh, you know, I remember one day I tried to figure out what a gallon of water coming out of my tap was, and I think it was something like 10 cents or something like that, a gallon. And so it's so hard to fathom like saving, you know, water when it is so, oh, I'm saving 10 cents here, I'm saving 10 cents there. I mean, I get it adds up. I'm not trying to say
Nobody's saying to be wasteful.
Yeah.
Just
but
understand what it is and why you're doing it.
yeah.
Right. But, you know, lawns are better for, you know, first of all, you probably guess that I'm not into this whole man-caused climate change. I mean, you can measure things. I mean, the latest Nobel Prize winner just started disputing climate change. So naturally, he's going to have to be canceled.
Of course.
But I forgot the point I was going to make, which is probably a good thing.
You know what? You've probably said enough.
But
Anyway, got a break coming up in about a minute.
we got in our first load of Christmas trees at the nursery.
And
So,
what kinds are we talking about this
Noble
year?
fir, Douglas fir, Fraser fir, Christmas trees.
Oh, so it's an all fir Christmas, huh?
Yeah, all fir.
Doug-
Now,
Douglas
do you
fir.
get a late shipment with what is it, Grand Firs?
Grand fir,
and balsam?
Nordman. We don't do balsam, but we do Nordman.
Balsam, I remember, was always the last one to come in, because if you put it up more than a week before Christmas, all the needles would fall off.
That's like Douglas, I feel.
But they smell really good.
We have one more segment coming up. So those on Facebook Live, any questions, comments, feel free. So taking a break for Biz Talk Radio, and back after these messages, this is Garden America. Just like that, we have returned. Final segment as we continue on this weekend. Today's show will be uploaded on our YouTube page, YouTube channel, I should say, Garden America Radio Show. You can watch the show, any show. Just go to YouTube. Our webmaster, Daniel, says be sure to go to gardenamerica.com. Check out the trip to Costa Rica. The itinerary's there. Great pictures, some videos set up. It's going to be a great time.
Isn't there something else new, or is that not up yet?
The questionnaire.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the little...
Yeah, I was going to say.
We can tease that. I think
it's out.
He wanted us to talk about the little garden quiz that we have set up, right?
Could put a link up on our...
I'll do it right now.
Okay, we're going to put a link on our Facebook page if you're paying attention.
Which will take you to gardenamerica.com.
Yeah, we have a really fun quiz there. I think it takes maybe all of 2 or 3 minutes to fill out.
It's a lot of fun. It's a garden quiz.
Yeah, and it just tells you what kind of gardener you are.
Right.
I think it divides gardeners into 4 different categories.
Some serious, some kind of fun.
Yeah.
Or funny.
So, yeah, go ahead and see what type of gardener you are. I would say that I'm trying to think of what I came out with. Whether it was scientific or intense. I'm not sure. It was one of the two, maybe a combination of the two.
I am working on posting it now.
Well, Daniel already
Daniel
beat you to it.
Daniel beat you to it, I think.
Oh, my goodness.
Look at that. He's quick. He's just waiting. Yeah, a shout-out to our webmaster, Daniel, the great website that he puts together and a lot of things that he does for the show. So here, and polite golf applause.
Got a new quote of the week.
Yeah, did you read that one?
Yeah, the quote of the week was from Veronica in Spring
I love
Valley.
That. I love
that. Was a good quote, right?
Yeah, so quoting Veronica, man can no more stop the tide from rolling in than he can control the weather pattern, either negatively or positively.
Or positively, absolutely.
Yeah. I've always felt that the biggest impact on weather, if it even is an impact, is the destruction of the rainforest.
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt about that.
You know, because you've got huge areas of greenery that, plants use carbon, right? And give off oxygen. And if you're cutting down all those little carbon-using factories by thousands and thousands of acres, if anything could affect the climate, that could.
So we have the link to the Costa Rica trip and also the link to the garden quiz up there on our Facebook page.
And Sue had a question for us.
Okay.
She needs to move a peach tree from a pot to the ground. The tree is about 5 feet tall and had fruit this year, and probably root has gone into the ground. Suggestions on move. Oh, yes, it is a very delicious volunteer. Sue, you're getting into the perfect time to transfer that peach tree because it's going dormant. And it doesn't matter if it's rooted into the ground because those trees are torn out of the ground in the fields that they're grown in and shipped to nurseries to be then taken home and planted. So if you wait
till the leaves fall off, right?
I was going to say, she wants to wait till it's
completely dormant. Yeah, so my guess would be right after Christmas.
Yeah, perfect, right?
Yeah.
And then you can dig it up, cut that root, transfer it to wherever you're going to put it in the ground, plant it like you would anything else and give it one good soaking. And then, from what I've been told is you give it kind of one really good soaking and then you kind of wait until after you start to see those leaf nodes emerge again, and then you start watering it then. Any other tips?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. All right.
Sue says she can't wait for our Costa Rica trip. She says we're going to get along great.
Yes, fine. We're all going to get along great.
I think she was referring to me. I don't know if she's including you too.
I kind of just pushed my way into that conversation.
Oh. Yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm actually excited that Tiger's going because he's been there twice.
Yeah,
Dana's been there,
and I'm excited for that too.
Yeah,
it's always good to go somewhere where someone has been.
There's a lot to be excited about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we signed up for the zip lining.
Yeah.
Oh, are you doing the zip line?
Yeah, the walk across the bridge. Come on, I mean it's nice, but
But I need to feel
I
the
need
wind through my hair.
and exhilaration.
I need to feel
my
life at the fingertips.
The last time we did it in Hawaii, I had my iPhone actually held it out as I'm
That's such
ziplining.
a scary thing,
and
right?
I'm thinking,
like you're scared you're going to drop the phone.
Well, I thought about it after the fact.
Yeah.
I could have dropped this phone, but I got
So
some
easily.
great footage.
Yeah.
All right, Tiger.
Yes.
John's
We got 2 minutes, just so you guys know.
for the show? Or
Yeah,
for,
2 minutes.
what?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're going to have to talk about
Well, can we hit it real quickly or not?
what I was thinking
We got
is
2
that,
minutes. We're good.
all right, well, I was thinking that we could just make it put it in the newsletter next week, do a little article on it.
What is it?
John says his brother's garden club in Oregon's having a speaker talk about Bee City, USA.
Ooh.
And it's
Bee Gees?
it's a no,
No.
and it's a program, and they wanted to know what we could say about it. So
All right.
I'm thinking that
Yeah.
I'll do an article in the newsletter next week, and then we can talk about it on the show.
We can do
Yeah.
that.
We can even set up an interview,
Oh wow!
right?
Hey, the next time we get together with our friends and listeners and viewers, it'll be after Thanksgiving.
So thank
After
you
the
all.
fact.
Thank you all beforehand.
Yeah,
That's
happy
why the
Thanksgiving.
newsletter says Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah. So we have to stay ahead of it sometimes. We don't want to get behind it. So happy Thanksgiving to one and all. Thank you for supporting our show. Thank you for watching, and hopefully you've brought some new people into the fold that watch the show, that listen to the show. We appreciate that.
Right. And don't misquote Brian don't quote him out of context and saying that Brian says that we're not behind Thanksgiving.
Yeah, right.
Because you did make that statement, and that's not what you meant.
We don't want to get. Well, you don't know what I meant.
I know exactly what you
Stay
meant.
ahead of the game.
Behind it.
Stay ahead of the game. No, I'm all for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Veronica says turkey coma.
Yes.
Yeah. If you're listening to this show on the radio, though, we hope you had a nice
Oh, that's
Thanksgiving.
exactly. Yeah, Biz Talk Radio.
Yeah.
You're eating your turkey mayonnaise pepper sandwiches.
Yeah.
Ooh, that sounds delicious.
White
I'm gonna
bread.
Go home right
And
now.
I do want to tell our new listeners in Lansing, Michigan.
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome. I'm from Michigan. I lived in Lansing. And if you join us live on Facebook every Saturday, you're welcome to post questions and
Sure.
sign up for our newsletter on our Facebook page. And we're
John
glad
will,
you're there.
John will give you sympathy for.
So until
Yeah, a lot of your problems in Michigan are solved
Exactly.
if you move.
until we get together next week, thank you for joining us. Thank you for bringing others into the fold, the Garden America fold, that is. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and have a safe week. We'll do it again next time right here on Garden America. I'm Brian Main for John Bagnasker, Tiger Palafox. Stay safe and get growing America. Take care.